From the News Channel 5 Network, this is MorningLine with Nick Barris.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine. Nick Barris here, live and direct to you on a Tuesday. And I do indeed hope you are well, and I hope you are at home and you are watching this morning. We're coming to you from our studios in downtown Nashville. Again, I'm one of the skeleton crew that's down here every day, working to bring you the news from here, but of course all the rest of our team is working from home, and our reporters out in the field, and I think doing a great job getting the information out to you, and we'll plan to continue to do that. This morning we are going to once again not only be on the Plus, and we'll put the number up in a moment so you can make phone calls there if you have questions. We also are streaming live on Facebook at newschannel5.com and News Channel 5 Plus. The focus of today's show is going to be the very latest here in one of Tennessee's biggest cities, of course, Metro Nashville. Now, part of the issue with regard to that today is not going to be just what's happening in this city. So those of you who are watching outside may have other general questions about stay-at-home orders and about law enforcement and how whether or not a municipality decides to enforce those orders against those who ignore them, and masks and all of the like. So feel free. I'm going to make sure I bring us up on the computer here. I'll look for any comments that you message us, and we'll also take phone calls throughout the program. So we're off and running right now, and our guest with us this morning, as he's joining us every week in studio, but a good distance from me across the way, is Metro Vice-Mayor Jim Shulman. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. It's nice to be back.
Well, it's good to have you come on. And most of what we do right now is by Skype, but you're good enough to come in studio, and we've all kept our distance, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to stay further away from you than normal.
I think you always have.
I do.
All right. Well, listen, we obviously pay attention each day, not only to the state, but also the metro numbers that come in and then what's been happening there. Confirmed cases, still Davidson County, I guess, highest number of confirmed cases in the state with 1,034. I guess yesterday, an increase of 110 cases or so as it's shaking out. Just wondering first, before we get to phone calls and comments from folks, where things stand in Metro from your take with these numbers and with some of the new orders.
Well, I think everybody's watching it very, very closely. We see the numbers going up. We're still on that rise. I know there was a story yesterday that came out, this University of Washington study that said, because we're taking additional safeguards, we may hit our peak earlier. There's probably other studies out there that are probably going to come out and say that that may be too soon. I really do appreciate everybody's efforts in terms of trying to make sure that they stay safer at home. That's very, very important. The national folks will tell you this coming week is going to be very, very important. You're going to see the numbers keep surging, but with each day we get closer to that peak, and as people take those safeguards, hopefully we move up that peak. Now, what I will tell you is that once we get to that peak, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden we all come outside and start acting like normal.
Right.
And, we've got a ways to go, but I think I've said on the show a couple of times, the faster we all comply and do what we're supposed to and practice social distancing, the faster we can get on the other side of this thing.
I know that the mayor's on board with the CDC and most other experts right now just talking about if you leave home, wear a mask in a lot of situations. You and I are not wearing masks right now. We're separate. I know Mary Elena was wearing one. In certain instances, I will wear one. Have you worn masks, Jim, as well?
Yeah. So yesterday I wore a mask.
Okay.
It was not necessarily a mask. It was a bandana.
Yeah.
And it was a goo-goo cluster bandana, but it worked. And the more I walk around in my neighborhood, and obviously we have a council meeting tonight, so I am out a little bit more than some people. I try, compared to what I used to do, I'm basically staying at home because, Nick, I remember not too long ago, council members, vice mayors, mayors, we get invited to lots of different things, and we're out quite a bit. That's all gone, obviously. So get my stuff done during the day, work from home, or if I have to go into the office, I work very carefully there, practice good norms, and now I've started wearing a bandana.
Oh, that's great.
You try to do what you're supposed to.
The thing about masks, and I reported on this morning, there's a study out of South Korea, and I think most people realize this, that There's some questions about the effectiveness of masks. I don't think masks can hurt, but they make it very clear that especially some of the homemade masks and things like this, while they can help, they're not 100% at blocking the virus if you come into contact, because the virus is so small, it may block some of it, it can still get through. What worries me, and you just hit about it, staying home, is that someone wearing a mask gets a false sense of security and thinks, well, I'm wearing a mask, and then they eschew the other safety protocol that are in place. And I want you to reiterate, I mean, a mask is not a substitute for social distancing, period. And if you have to do one or the other, bag the mask and social distance.
I think that's right. So it's interesting when I go out and exercise, like this past weekend, you know, you see people, you do see family members like a husband and wife who you know, are out there walking together. But everybody else seems to be practicing this thing. Now, it doesn't mean that's the people I see. Now, I know there are other people who still aren't taking this as serious as they should, but everybody has to play their part.
Yeah.
It's very important.
The other thing that I'm hearing from folks is just trying to get a sense of how much enforcement. If you can talk for the city of Metro and Nashville, the governor in his piece, you know, has more or less left it to local municipalities to decide whether they're going to enforce these stay-at-home orders and the like, okay? And I saw yesterday, I think the health department and others maybe in Metro visited and shut down, I think, some 6 businesses that maybe were deemed non-essential, and then other than that, they're just out on patrol. Where does it come down for the city of Metro? At any point, will police officers or sheriff's deputies maybe be stopping individuals in their vehicles if they think they're not really going someplace essential, just to check? Or what's your take on that? Could there be roadblocks down the road? Are we going to continue to perhaps, you know, monitor businesses?
You know, you hate to say that we won't ever do it, because you want to make sure that people understand that they really should stay safer at home. So, you know, there's that air of, you know, don't come out. If you don't have to come out, don't. But I don't think we're ever hopefully going to get to the point where we have to have, you know, the police stopping people on the street or in their cars and going, where are you going?
Yeah.
The order is very careful, both the mayor's order and then the governor's order about defining what's essential and what's not. I think what you're seeing is the health department actually try to clamp down on those businesses that are not essential and that are still open. I heard someone from the Metro Health Department, I think on the news, say, you know, people should play their part. You should not be going to non-essential businesses. They're supposed to be closed. But during the day, in my day job, I worry about seniors across the state of Tennessee. And we were talking about this whole issue yesterday, and I talked to folks with the police chiefs. I talked to the cities and the counties. You know, I don't think we're at the point where anybody's supposed to be stopping people who are driving out there, hopefully just for essential services, and arresting anybody.
Well, what about, for instance, and there's a lot of questions and some coming in right now, golf courses. Now, I've heard there are several public golf courses, which the clubhouses are closed, now, but that folks are allowed to golf there, I'm assuming maybe for free. They're not allowed to use carts, but they have to walk. And I understand if you do it that way, maybe you can maintain some social distancing, but I've had reports of various public golf courses around Metro where the social distancing ain't happening. And I mean, I know you love your golf game, but you folks got to get a clue. So I'm just wondering, is that something where you guys can visit and take a look, and when there's a mob waiting to tee off, back off, get a brain?
Well, again, you're counting on people to do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they always do that. So I saw an email trail yesterday where I think Parks has closed tennis courts from people playing, and then somebody said, well, what about playing golf? Look, we want people to go out and get some fresh air. That's important. A decision has been made, at least right now, that you can go out and play golf, but, you know, walk around, do not, you know, practice social distancing with everything. Just because if you're on a golf course does not mean that the rules now don't apply to you. They do apply, so be careful. Again, you know, we've been talking about this. It seems like use your common sense. I mean, I know that when I'm out talking to people, or if I'm out walking on the street, you know, just getting some exercise, people take the people I've talked to take this seriously. They stay 6 feet away.
Yeah.
Everybody remembers that they are responsible just like everybody else. So if you're going to go play golf with a group of people, stay 6 feet apart.
Yep.
That's what you're supposed to do.
And so as it stands, I mean, Metro is going to continue to allow that. I know in some cities and states the courses are closed. As I said,
Right.
These courses are closed, but my understanding is you can get out and golf for free right now as long as you walk it. And if people observe what you just said, then they're going to be okay to golf.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense. You know what's interesting as we go to the break, Jim, is of all the sports that have been canceled right now, the one that I could see coming back the quickest, perhaps, as the circumstances of this pandemic improve, is golf. Really, when you think about it, they could lower it down. They could play the Masters, and instead of playing in pairings, they could have them golf individually and keep everyone separate. Of course, you wouldn't have the galleries, at least not until things improve, but you could golf because it's a very individual sport. It just is. I can see that happening.
I can see that too.
We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll start taking some of your phone calls for the Vice Mayor and a lot of comments here. And as I said, we're not just talking about Metro. He's schooled being in government in a lot of the questions you may have. And so if you have any you'd like to message us on Facebook at newschannel5.com, do so now, and we'll try to answer as many for you as we can before the end of the show. We'll be right back.